The silent approach. The Zarkonian fleet moved through the Kepler 442 system like shadows against the stars. Commander Zircon stood on the bridge of the flagship Dark Talon, his 4 eyes scanning the holographic display that showed their target. A small blue-green world orbiting a quiet star. "Status report," Zircon commanded, his voice echoing through the metallic corridors of the massive warship. Lieutenant Zex approached with quick, nervous steps. "Commander, our sensors show no defensive satellites around the 3rd planet. No energy signatures from orbital stations. The inhabitants appear to be primitive." Zircon's mandibles clicked together in satisfaction. The Galactic Council had marked this system as developing civilization, which meant easy conquest. His fleet of 30 ships would be more than enough to claim this world for the Zarkonian Empire. "What do we know about these ... Humans?" Zircon asked. Zex consulted his datapad. "Basic space travel technology. They have sent small probes to nearby planets in their system. No faster-than-light capability detected. No energy weapons. They still use chemical propulsion for their vessels." Other officers on the bridge laughed, a sound like grinding metal. Chemical propulsion was what children used in their first spacecraft toys. "Perfect," Zircon said. "We will begin the standard invasion protocol. Full orbital bombardment of their major population centers, then ground forces to secure resources. This should be completed within 1 solar rotation." But as the Zarkonian fleet approached Earth's outer solar system, something unexpected happened. Deep in space, beyond the orbit of Neptune, a lone vessel drifted silently. It was small by galactic standards, barely 200 meters long. Its hull was dark metal, scarred by micrometeorites and radiation. Solar panels extended like wings, and strange symbols were painted on its side. UESV, Defiance Earth United Space Command. Inside the cramped bridge, Captain Sarah Chun sat in her command chair, studying the tactical display. Her crew of 12 had been on patrol for 6 months, testing humanity's first experimental faster-than-light engine. The test had been successful, but now they were far from home, monitoring deep space communications. "Captain," said Jung-hoon from the communication station, "I'm picking up multiple unknown signals. They're using some kind of quantum transmission method." Sarah frowned. "Can you decode them?" "Working on it," Jung-hoon replied, his fingers dancing over holographic controls. After several minutes, his face went pale. "Captain, I think you need to hear this." The bridge speakers crackled to life with alien voices, automatically translated by their AI system. "Orbital bombardment will commence in 6 hours. All vessels maintain formation until the surface resistance is eliminated. Those energy readings are pathetic. This conquest will be swift. The humans won't even know what destroyed them." Sarah stood slowly from her chair. Her crew, Jung-hoon at communications, Min-jung at weapons, Seo-yeon at navigation, Chun at engineering, all turned to look at her. "They're talking about Earth," she said. Quietly, the small human vessel hung in the darkness, undetected by the approaching alien fleet. The Zarkonians had scanned for advanced technology, energy weapons, and large spacecraft. They had not thought to look for a small, nearly silent vessel running on minimal power in the outer system. Sarah Chun looked at her crew. 12 humans in a single ship against 30 alien warships heading toward Earth. The odds were impossible. The situation was hopeless. She smiled grimly. "Red alert," she commanded. "All hands to battle stations. Jung-hoon, send a priority message to Earth Defense Command. Tell them we have incoming hostiles, and give them everything we've learned about enemy fleet composition." "Captain," Min-jun said from weapons, "we're just one ship. What can we do against an entire invasion fleet?" Sarah's eyes were hard as steel. "We're going to show them exactly what humans are capable of when someone threatens our home. They didn't anticipate encountering a human vessel out here." She paused, looking out at the stars where the alien fleet approached her world. There, about to learn why that was a mistake, the UESV Defiance powered up its engines and turned toward the approaching enemy. Alone in the darkness between worlds. First contact the UESV Defiance moved through space like a ghost, its engines running at minimum power to avoid detection. Captain Sarah Chun studied the tactical display, watching the Zarkonian fleet advance toward Earth. 30 massive ships, each one larger than Earth's biggest space station. Distance to enemy fleet? She asked. 2 million kilometers in closing, Co Yan reported from navigation. At current speed, they'll reach Earth's outer defense perimeter in 4 hours. Jung-hoon looked up from his station. Captain, I've been monitoring their communications. They're discussing something called orbital bombardment protocols. They plan to destroy our cities from space before landing ground troops. Sarah's jaw tightened. Earth's defenses were designed for small-scale conflicts, not an invasion fleet. The orbital defense platforms could handle pirates or rogue asteroids, but not this. What's our weapons status? Sarah asked. Min-jung checked his displays. We have 12 plasma torpedoes, point defense lasers, and our new prototype railgun. The railgun uses magnetic acceleration to fire tungsten rods at near light speed. 1 ship against 30, Chun muttered from engineering. The math doesn't look good, Captain. Sarah walked to the front of the bridge and stared out at the stars. In the distance, she could see the faint dots of light that marked the alien fleet. Each one represented hundreds or thousands of enemy soldiers coming to destroy her world. Jung-hoon, have you made contact with Earth Defense Command? Yes, Captain. They're mobilizing everything they have, but our fastest ships won't reach the outer system for 6 hours. The space stations are preparing for siege, and ground forces are being alerted. Sarah nodded. Earth would fight, but it wouldn't be enough. Not against this. Captain, Co Yan said suddenly, I'm detecting something strange about the enemy formation. They're traveling in a straight line, maintaining equal distance between ships. Very organized, very predictable. Military formation, Min-jung observed. They're probably used to fighting other organized fleets. Space battles with formal rules and tactics. Sarah smiled for the first time since detecting the alien fleet. They've never fought humans before, have they? On the bridge of the Dark Talon, Commander Zircon reviewed the final approach vectors. Everything was proceeding according to standard invasion protocol. His ships would reach optimal bombardment position in 4 hours, eliminate the planet's major cities, and begin resource extraction within days. Commander, Lieutenant Zex reported, long-range sensors are detecting increased activity around the third planet. Small energy signatures, probably civilian vessels fleeing the populated areas. Let them run, Zircon said dismissively. We'll hunt down the survivors after we secure the planet. Any sign of military resistance? Negative, sir. No ships approaching our position. A few orbital installations, but nothing that poses a threat to our fleet. Zircon's mandibles clicked in satisfaction. Another easy conquest for the Zarkonian Empire. These humans would learn to serve their new masters, or they would die. But far behind the alien fleet. The UESV Defiance was already moving into position. Co Yan, plot an intercept course with their rear ship, Sarah ordered. Stay in their sensor shadow. Use their own formation against them. Aye, Captain. Plotting course now. Min-jung, I want you to target their engines first. We don't know their armor capabilities, but every ship needs propulsion. Captain, Chun called from engineering. I'm reading massive energy signatures from those ships. Their shields alone probably outclass our entire weapons array. Then we don't fight their shields, Sarah said. Jung-hoon, what have you learned about their communication patterns? They use tight beam quantum transmissions between ships. Very secure, but they maintain constant contact. Like a network. Sarah's eyes lit up. A network can be disrupted. Can you jam their communications? For short periods, yes. But they'll adapt quickly. Short periods might be all we need. Sarah turned to address her entire crew. Listen carefully. We're not going to fight this fleet ship to ship. We're going to do something they won't expect, something no civilized military would do. She paused, looking at each of her 12 crew members. We're going to cheat. The Defiance accelerated toward the alien fleet's rear guard, running silent through the darkness. The Zarkonians continued their steady advance toward Earth, unaware that humanity's first lesson in interstellar warfare was about to begin. Behind the last enemy ship, Captain Sarah Chun prepared to show the galaxy what humans could accomplish when their survival was at stake. The real battle was about to begin. Asterisk. The first strike, the UESV Defiance, drifted silently behind the last ship in the Zarkonian formation. Captain Sarah Chun watched the massive alien vessel through the viewscreen. It was easily 10 times larger than her ship, bristling with weapon ports and energy shields. Distance to target? She whispered. 5,000 meters. Seo Yan replied quietly. We're in their sensor shadow. They can't detect us from this position. Sarah studied the alien ship's design. Like most military vessels, it had heavy armor on the front and sides, but the rear section showed heat vents and what looked like engine exhausts. Minjun, can you get a clear shot at those engine ports? Affirmative, Captain. The railgun is locked on target. 1 tungsten rod, magnetic acceleration to 0.97 light speed. Jung-hoon, are you ready to jam their communications? Ready, Captain. I can disrupt their quantum network for approximately 90 seconds before they adapt. Sarah took a deep breath. Once they fired, there would be no going back. The entire alien fleet would know humans were out here. Chun, all power to engines after we fire. We'll have maybe 2 minutes before they coordinate a response. Understood, Captain. Sarah looked around at her crew one last time. 12 people against an invasion fleet. It should have been hopeless. Fire. The railgun discharged with a brilliant flash. The tungsten rod, accelerated to near light speed, crossed the distance to the alien ship in a fraction of a second. It struck the rear engine section with the force of a small nuclear weapon. The Zarkonian vessel, Void Render, shuddered as the projectile tore through its hull. Explosions rippled along the engine compartments. Emergency lights flashed as the ship's rear section vented atmosphere and debris into space. Direct hit! Min Jun shouted. Their main engines are offline. Jung-hoon, jam their communications now. The communications officer's fingers flew over his controls. Across the alien fleet, ship-to-ship transmissions suddenly filled with static and interference. On the bridge of the Void Render, Captain Kresh struggled to understand what had happened. Alarms blared throughout the ship as damage reports flooded in. Engineering report? Kresh demanded. Unknown projectile impact to rear hull. Main engines destroyed. We're losing power to secondary systems. Communications. Contact Fleet Command. I can't, sir. All channels are being jammed. Through the chaos, one of Kresh's officers spotted something on the sensors. Captain. Small vessel detected, bearing 27 Mark IV. It appears to be the source of the attack. Kresh's eyes widened as he saw the tiny human ship on his display. That little thing did this? Return fire. All weapons. But the Defiance was already moving. Evasive maneuvers. Sarah commanded. Chun, full power to engines. The human ship accelerated away from the crippled alien vessel just as energy beams lit up the space where it had been. The Defiance twisted and rolled between the weapons fire, its smaller size allowing it to dodge attacks that would have vaporized a larger ship. Captain, Seo Yan called out. The entire fleet is turning toward us. They're breaking formation. Sarah watched the tactical display as 30 Zarkonian ships abandoned their steady advance toward Earth. Instead, they were converging on the Defiance's position, their formations scattering as each captain tried to be the first to destroy the impudent human vessel. "Perfect," Sarah said with grim satisfaction. "Captain?" Min Jun asked, confused. "We're about to be surrounded by 30 enemy warships." "How is that perfect?" "Because they just did exactly what I hoped they would do," Sarah replied. "They abandoned their mission to chase us. Every minute they spend hunting the Defiance is another minute for Earth to prepare. Defenses." Jung-hoon looked up from his station. "Communications are back online. Theirs and ours. I'm receiving a priority transmission from Earth Defense Command. Put it through." Admiral Rodriguez's voice crackled over the speakers. "Defiance, we're reading massive energy signatures throughout the outer system. What's your status?" "We've engaged the enemy fleet, Admiral. 30 ships, heavily armed. We've damaged one vessel and scattered their formation, but they're converging on our position." There was a pause. "Defiance, you're one ship against 30. You need to withdraw immediately." Sarah looked out at the approaching alien vessels, their weapon ports glowing with deadly energy. "Negative, Admiral. We're buying Earth time to prepare. Every minute counts. Captain Shun, that's an order. Withdraw immediately." Sarah reached over and cut the transmission. She turned to face her crew. "We all volunteered for this mission, knowing it might be one way," she said. "Earth needs time. Our families need time. We're going to give it to them." Min Jun checked his weapons display. "We have 11 torpedoes left and the railgun. Against 30 ships. Then we make every shot count," Sarah said. "Co Yan, plot a course through their formation. We're going to make them work for this kill." The UESV Defiance turned toward the approaching alien fleet, alone against impossible odds. But Earth now had precious time to mount a defense. The hunt was on. Asterisk, the dance of death, the UESV. Defiance weaved through space like a fighter pilot dodging flak, energy beams lighting up the darkness around it. 29 Zarkonian warships pursued the small human vessel, their formation completely broken as each captain tried to claim the kill. "Incoming plasma barrage from our port side." Co Yan shouted. The ship rolled hard to starboard, the hull groaning under the stress. Green energy bolts streaked past the view screen, close enough that the bridge lights flickered from electromagnetic interference. "Return fire, Min Jun. Target the lead ship's weapon arrays." A plasma torpedo launched from the Defiance, striking the pursuing vessel's forward cannons. Explosions bloomed across the alien ship's hull, but its shields held. "Minimal damage," Min Jun reported. "Their armor is too thick for our standard weapons." Captain Sarah Chun studied the tactical display. The alien ships were fast, but they were also large and moved like battleships, powerful but not agile. The Defiance was smaller, faster, and far more maneuverable. "Co Yan, take us into that asteroid field at bearing 047. "Captain, that field is dense. Navigation will be extremely hazardous. For them, maybe. We're smaller and faster. Jung-hoon, can you scan those asteroids for composition?" "Working on it." "Captain, several of those asteroids contain high concentrations of iron and nickel. Some are nearly pure metal." Sarah smiled grimly. "Min Jun, load the railgun with our special ammunition. The experimental penetrator rounds?" "Captain, we only have 3 of them." "Then we make them count." The Defiance dove into the asteroid field with the alien fleet in pursuit. The Zarkonian ships slowed, their captains cautious about navigating the dense field of floating rocks. On the flagship Dark Talon, Commander Zircon watched in frustration as his fleet struggled to follow the human ship. "Report from Captain Kresh?" he demanded. "The Void Render is still under repair, sir." Engineering estimates 6 hours before engines are operational. And this single human vessel continues to evade our entire fleet? Lieutenant Zex checked his displays nervously. Sir, their ship is much smaller than ours. It can maneuver through areas where our vessels cannot safely follow. Zircon's mandibles clicked in anger. We are the Zarkonian Empire. We have conquered dozens of worlds. We will not be humiliated by one primitive ship. Sir, perhaps we should resume course for the planet, and no. Zircon roared. That vessel destroyed one of our ships. It will be eliminated. All vessels continue pursuit. Deep in the asteroid field, the Defiance moved between the floating rocks like a dancer. Sarah had positioned them near a cluster of metallic asteroids, each one larger than a city block. Chun, how's our power situation? Running at 80%, Captain. The evasive maneuvers are draining our batteries faster than the solar collectors can recharge them. Jung-hoon, any word from Earth? Admiral Rodriguez reports that defense platforms are being repositioned and the lunar bases are preparing for siege. Earth's fleet is still 4 hours out. 4 hours. Sarah knew they couldn't run and fight for 4 more hours. The aliens would eventually corner them, or the Defiance would run out of power. Captain, Seo Yan said urgently. 3 enemy ships are moving to flank us. They're trying to box us in. Sarah looked at the tactical display. The aliens were learning, adapting their tactics. Instead of chasing blindly, they were beginning to coordinate their movements. Min-jun, do you have a clear shot at that large metallic asteroid at bearing 120? Affirmative. Distance 4,000 meters. Fire the railgun. Penetrator round. The experimental ammunition was different from their standard tungsten rods. These rounds were designed to punch through heavy armor with a delayed detonation charge. The penetrator struck the massive iron asteroid and buried itself deep in the metal core before exploding. The asteroid shattered like a bomb, sending chunks of metal flying in all directions at high velocity. The 3 Zarkonian ships flanking the ships, Defiance flew directly into the debris field. Metal fragments struck their hulls like bullets, overwhelming their shields and punching holes in their armor. 2 ships suffered critical damage and fell behind, venting atmosphere. Direct hits on 2 targets. Min-jun cheered. They're falling back. But more ships were closing in from other directions. Captain, Jung-hoon said, his voice tight with stress. I'm intercepting alien communications. They're getting angry. Really angry. Sarah could hear the translated alien voices over the speakers. Impossible. How can one primitive vessel cause such damage? These humans fight like demons. They use the environment itself as a weapon. Commander Zircon demands immediate destruction of the target. 2 more penetrator rounds left. Min-jun reported. Sarah watched as more alien ships entered the asteroid field, moving more cautiously now, but still closing in. They were learning to respect human tactics, but they still had overwhelming numbers. Seo Yan, plot a course deeper into the field. Find me the densest concentration of asteroids. Captain, if we go much deeper, we might not be able to get back out. That's the idea, Sarah said. If we can't escape, then we make our last stand somewhere that gives us every possible advantage. The UESV, Defiance, dove deeper into the asteroid field, with 27 Zarkonian ships in pursuit. The dance of death continued, but Sarah Chun had one more trick to play. The aliens still didn't understand what they were really fighting. Human desperation combined with human creativity. They were about to learn. Asterisk. The last stand deep in the heart of the asteroid field, the UESV Defiance came to rest in the shadow of a massive rock formation. Captain Sarah Chun studied the tactical display as 27 Zarkonian ships surrounded their position, moving carefully through the dense field of floating debris. Power at 60%. Chun reported from engineering. If we keep running, we'll be dead in the water within 30 minutes. Then we make our stand here, Sarah said. Jung-hoon, send one final message to Earth. Tell them we've bought them 3 hours. Tell them to make it count. Message sent, Captain. Sarah looked around at her crew. Jung-hoon at communications, his face pale but determined. Min-jun at weapons, checking his displays one last time. Seo-yeon at navigation, her hands steady despite the impossible odds. Chun at engineering, keeping their ship running against all hope. 12 people. 1 ship, their final battle. Min-jun, status on remaining weapons? 2 penetrator rounds for the railgun. 4 plasma torpedoes. Point defense lasers at full charge. Seo-yeon, I need you to position us near that cluster of asteroids at bearing 270. The ones with the highest metal content. I, Captain. On the bridge of the Dark Talon, Commander Zircon finally had the human vessel trapped. His ships formed a tightening circle around the asteroid cluster where the Defiance hid. Finally, he said with satisfaction. Lieutenant Zex, order all ships to concentrate fire. I want that vessel destroyed completely. Sir, Zex said hesitantly, shouldn't we attempt to capture them? Study their technology? Learn how one small ship caused such damage? Zircon's 4 eyes blazed with fury. That ship has humiliated the Zarkonian Empire. It will be destroyed. No survivors. But as the alien ships moved into firing position, Sarah Chun was implementing her final plan. Chun, I need you to overload our fusion reactor. Not enough to explode, but enough to create a massive electromagnetic pulse. Captain, that will destroy our ship's electronics. We'll be dead in space? We're already dead in space, Sarah replied. But maybe we can take some of them with us. Jung-hoon, are you still monitoring their communications? Yes, Captain. They're coordinating their final attack. All ships will fire simultaneously in approximately 2 minutes. Sarah nodded. Min-jun, I want you to fire both penetrator rounds at those 2 largest asteroids. Maximum power, minimum delay on the detonation charges. Captain, at this range, the debris field will take us out too. I know. Sarah's voice was calm, accepting. But it will also take out half their fleet. The crew exchanged glances. They all understood. This was their last act. For Earth, Sarah said quietly. For Earth, her crew replied. The railgun fired twice in rapid succession. Both penetrator rounds struck the massive metallic asteroids and buried deep before exploding. The 2 house-sized rocks shattered simultaneously, sending a storm of high-velocity debris in all directions. At the same moment, Chun overloaded the fusion reactor. The UESV Defiance disappeared in a brilliant electromagnetic pulse that fried electronics for hundreds of kilometers in all directions. The asteroid debris struck the Zarkonian ships like a shotgun blast. 12 vessels were caught in the expanding field of metal fragments. Their shields overloaded and failed. Hull breaches opened across multiple ships. 3 vessels suffered catastrophic damage and began breaking apart, but the electromagnetic pulse did something even more devastating. The Zarkonian ships, with their advanced electronics and quantum communication systems, were completely disabled. Their computers crashed. Their weapons went offline. Their engines stopped in the sudden silence of space. 15 alien warships drifted helplessly among the asteroids, their crews struggling with manual controls and emergency power. On the bridge of the Dark Talon, emergency lighting cast eerie shadows as Zircon tried to understand what had happened. Report, he demanded. All primary systems offline, sir. The electromagnetic pulse overloaded our quantum processors. Engineering estimates 4 hours for minimum power restoration. 4 hours? Zircon's voice was a whisper of disbelief. That was when Jung Hoon's final message reached Earth Defense Command. Admiral Rodriguez read the transmission, then immediately contacted all remaining Earth forces. All ships, emergency acceleration to outer system. The enemy fleet is disabled. Repeat, the enemy fleet is disabled. The Defiance has given us our chance. 3 hours later, Earth's combined fleet arrived at the asteroid field to find the Zarkonian ships still struggling to restore their systems. The battle that followed was swift and decisive. Commander Zircon found himself in an escape pod, watching his flagship explode under fire from human vessels. The mighty invasion fleet was defeated, destroyed by primitive humans with their chemical rockets and basic weapons, but it had started with one small ship and 12 people who refused to let their world die without a fight. As Earth's ships secured the battlefield, Admiral Rodriguez stood on the bridge of the flagship Terra and looked out at the debris field where the UECV Defiance had made its last stand. Status on survivors from the Defiance? He asked quietly. None detected, sir. The electromagnetic pulse destroyed their ship completely. Rodriguez nodded, his throat tight. Log this in the official record. Today, 12 humans in one small ship defeated an invasion fleet of 30 vessels. They didn't just save Earth. They showed the galaxy what humanity is capable of. He paused, looking out at the stars. They didn't anticipate a human vessel. And when one appeared, it changed everything. The Zarkonian Empire would never threaten Earth again. And across the galaxy, other species would hear the story of the UESV Defiance and think twice before underestimating humanity. The stars belonged to everyone now. But humans had earned their place among them. The end asterisk.